he's still getting better every year. I mean, this version of him we saw last season, there could be more to untap from him in a situation in which the pieces around him change. If you get him a great perimeter point guard, that we may not have even have seen peak Joel Embiid yet.
News came down this morning that Joel Embiid had signed a Supermax extension with the Philadelphia 76ers. It was announced that he signed a 4-year, $196 million Supermax deal that'll keep him with the 76ers through the 2026-27 season. The deal guarantees Embiid a total of $261 million because he was already set to make $65 million in the next 2 seasons under the current terms of his deal. So this is going to make Joel Embiid a very, very rich man. Of course, he finished second in the Kia MVP voting last year to Nikola Jokic, and he was already signed through 22-23. But he was eligible for this Supermax, and they gave it to him. And so what do you think? This is kind of news I was not necessarily expecting this morning.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, even Ramona Shelburne, noted in there that he represented himself in the negotiations earlier this year. He left CAA. For Embiid here, good for him, dude. Congratulations getting that bag. No reason not to sign that deal now. Get that long-term security. There was no reason to wait because he was already eligible for that extension. And, there was always that talk in recent years, Chris, if it ever becomes an either or question for the Sixers, is it Embiid or Simmons that you choose to build around? I mean, we're down that path already. It's all Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons is the guy that, whether it's now or training camp or sometime during the season, that it seems inevitable that he will be moved. It's just a matter of for what, how much. And Embiid now just 27 years old still, and seemingly as long as he can stay healthy, he's still getting better every year. I mean, this version of him we saw last season, there could be more to untap from him in a situation in which the pieces around him change. If you get him a great perimeter point guard, that we may not have even have seen peak Joel Embiid yet.
Well, not only did they have an outstanding record last year, just to put it into context, last season when he was second in the MVP, he averaged 28.5 points per game, 10.6 rebounds, and his splits were 51% from the field, 38% from three, 86% from the line. His 28.5 points per game were the most points per game by a center in 20 years. Shaq in 2001. So just to put it into context, it was a historically outstanding year offensively for Joel Embiid, who also brings a lot to the table defensively. Look, we've had this conversation many times over the years. When Joel Embiid is at his absolute best, he is on par with any great player in the league. And you can only say that about a few guys, but he's one of them, right? When he is at his peak of powers, he can, for a series, for a game, be the best player in a series that includes literally anybody in the NBA. And so if you're not committing to him, to me, he's eligible for that Supermax. If he's willing to sign that deal, you sign him to that deal. End of story. You know what I mean? These are the kind of guys.
Negotiation needed.
No,
right?
No. These are the. It's a matter of, does he want to sign it? We live in a day and age, and I do think, again, you never know the way this stuff is going to play out. But it is another guy that is, not disenchanted with his situation. Now things can always change, but he has not been, playing in Eastern Conference Finals. He has not been playing in NBA Finals, and yet he is not disenchanted and believes that he needs to go elsewhere in order to accomplish his goals. And I think that probably says something about him and his comfort level and how much he likes being in Philadelphia. I also think, more importantly, it probably shows that he has a level of trust in Daryl and the brass at Philadelphia to build a team around him in the near future, and not waste any more of these prime years. But, he's got some level of confidence in the organization. And so it seems as if, much like the Giannis situation, people are going to have to come to him. He's not going to be going and trying to pair up with somebody else in a different situation in order to try to win at the highest level. And I think that's good for the league. I think it's good for the league for the more guys to be spread out.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, for Philadelphia, we'll see how this Ben Simmons saga unfolds. Like I've long said, I expect this to roll into training camp. I expect Daryl Morey to wait as long as he possibly can to go for Damian Lillard. Whether or not Damian Lillard becomes available to the extent that the Blazers are willing to dance and actually make a trade remains to be seen. But if you're thinking about, the next stage of Joel Embiid's career and his development, it's what he has never had before. And that's a perimeter-oriented playmaker. I mean, Jimmy Butler wasn't a knockdown shooter. He fit the role of a guy who could create from the perimeter, but he wasn't a shooter. If it's a Damian Lillard, or if it's a Bradley Beal, or even if you end up settling for CJ McCollum, for that matter.
Or Buddy Hield.
A Buddy Hield, even for that matter. I mean, if we're in a Ben Simmons trade, getting somebody like that changes the things that you can do with Joel Embiid. We have never seen him paired with a point guard that allows him to screen and roll hard to the rim. Like, we just haven't seen it. He hasn't had that partner. So with Embiid, if that's able to be something that he can do post Ben Simmons trade, it could open up a whole new world of possibilities for him in the half court. In terms of how he can get buckets and how he can impact the game. So I'm excited for Embiid and Sixers fans everywhere. Pretty cool, that Joel Embiid has turned into the guy that he has.
Absolutely. And I do think that if he has a level of confidence in Daryl to be able to trade for a superstar, it is well-founded, because that's the circles he runs in, as they say. Look what he did in Houston. Attainment of superstars is his thing. He had Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. He had James Harden, and then paired him up with Chris Paul. Then he paired him up with Russell Westbrook. Like, if there's one thing that he has been able to show, it's that he believes strongly in the talent level and the attainment of superstars. That's what you have to have. You and I have both heard him talk about this. That's what you have to have in the league. And if the decision is that they don't think Ben Simmons necessarily fits that mode, I think you have nothing else to look at but his track record, which is he has shown the ability to go and make things happen, to bring in and to attain multiple stars. And that wasn't necessarily, like, he didn't do that by getting someone to sign there. He did that by trading for guys. He did that by trading for James Harden. He did that by trading for Chris Paul. He did that by trading for Russell Westbrook. And not all of the deals are, worked out. But if we're saying, can he find someone to pair with Joel Embiid if they don't feel great about the particular pairing that they have right now? I think there's no reason to believe he won't. It's just a matter of who.
Yeah, just a matter of who and if that opportunity is there. And ultimately, that's what he's waiting for. I mean, this offseason, they hired Phil Beckner as a coach and consultant. Beckner has long worked with Damian Lillard. I mean, highly respected trainer. I mean, for one, but like, why do you think Daryl Morey is doing that? He's creating that, connection with Dame to help increase any possibility that he can, that Dame puts the Sixers on his list. Granted, Damian Lillard in his position, with 4 years left on his contract, he doesn't have a lot of leverage to steer his way to any particular team. But with Ben Simmons being as young and as talented as he is, like, let's not, I mean, what it is with Ben Simmons. Like, he can't shoot, but he's an elite defender. He's a great playmaker. And in different circumstances, he could be even better offensively, because he could limit his weaknesses if the personnel around him is different. So for Ben Simmons still has value, and Daryl Morey still has a lot of his picks. We saw Tyrese Maxey look really good this summer league. Still has some young talent on the roster. Philadelphia, if Damian Lillard becomes available, could put together arguably by far the strongest package, depending on how Portland feels about Ben Simmons.
Right.
So I think for Philly here, it's worth the risk in waiting for Dame to maybe become available or Beal to maybe become available. And if those guys don't, then you find the best deal possible. I mean, it's not going to go away.